So, we need to talk about Nintendo Switch Team keycards again because, honestly, this topic just will not die. And to be fair, it's not going away anytime soon, because it cuts right into the heart of this ongoing debate about physical media, digital ownership, and whether Nintendo is doing right by consumers or just finding another way to squeeze a little extra money out of us. Now, I know there are people who are absolutely, vehemently against game keycards. Like, no exceptions, no compromises. They won't touch them under any circumstances. And hey, I respect that. That's your prerogative. But for me, I've always been kind of in the middle. I don't necessarily love them, but I also don't think they're the absolute end of the world. At least with a game keycard, I can sell it later, right? At least it's something physical I can hand off to somebody else. That's already more than you can say for a straight digital download. Now yes, you're still relying on servers and an internet connection to make sure that game keycard actually works. And that is a fair criticism. But I also think, and maybe this is just me being a little too optimistic, those servers are probably going to be up longer than most of us are alive. At least that's what I hope Nintendo has planned with this whole thing. But recently, the conversation around game keycards has gotten a lot more interesting because of two specific games that are breaking the mold. And these examples are forcing people to really confront what they've been asking for all along. Actual physical cartridges, no keycards. So here's the thing. Game keycards exist for one big reason: cost. The Switch 2 right now only has 64 GB cartridges available. So if your game is tiny, let's say 8 GB, 12 GB, something like that, it doesn't make financial sense for a publisher to drop $17 per unit to print on a full cartridge. They'd literally be losing money, especially if the game is discounted or AA rather than AAA. And then on the other end of the spectrum, if your game is massive and won't fit on 64 GB, you're stuck anyway. So publishers basically get two options: eat the costs, or push out a game keycard and let the customer download the bulk of it. And honestly, Nintendo doesn't care. They've never really cared about making third-party life easier. Look back at the N64 and how expensive cartridges were. Look back at the Wii U. Third parties struggled then too. Nintendo's always done their own thing and expected companies to either adapt or get left behind. But now, we have two really interesting cases: Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection and Yooka Replay. Both of these games are coming to the Switch 2 with a true physical cartridge release. No game keycards. Sounds awesome, right? Finally, fans are getting what they've been begging for. But here's the catch. And it's a big one. Let's start with Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection. And by the way, this collection looks awesome. It's stacked with classic Mortal Kombat games from the arcade era, SNES, Genesis, all the way up to Mortal Kombat 4. Multiple versions of games, even some oddities like Mythologies and Special Forces. They even threw in the Sega 32X version of MK2, which is kind of a deep cut, but one I personally appreciate. On paper, this should be a slam dunk for Switch 2 fans, and it's getting a full cartridge release. No downloading half the game, no weird keycard, so what's the problem? The price. On the Switch 2, this collection is $59.99. On PlayStation 5, it's $49.99. $10 cheaper for the exact same collection. And that's not just a small difference. That's a direct reflection of the cost of putting this thing on a cartridge. So here's the dilemma. Are you willing to pay extra for physical media on Switch 2? Because this is exactly what I've been saying for months. Everybody loves to tweet about killing game keycards. Everybody loves to say support physical. But now it's put up or shut up time. And let's be real. Most average consumers, they're going to walk into a store, see the $60 Switch version next to the $50 PlayStation version, and grab the cheaper one. Especially in this economy, when $10 actually does matter. Sure, some people might justify paying more for portability, but for most, that's not enough of a selling point. And guess what? It looks like Yooka Replay is lining up to do the exact same thing. Another game, another physical Switch cartridge, but I guarantee you it's going to be priced $10 higher than the PS5, Xbox, or even the Steam version. Because that's the trade-off here. You want no keycards, you want a full cartridge, you're going to pay for it. So now we're at this weird crossroads. On the one hand, people say they hate game keycards. They share the memes, they retweet the no keycard images, they cheer when a game goes full physical. But when the bill comes due, when it's literally $10 more expensive on Switch 2, how many people are actually going to follow through? And that's where I start to get skeptical. Because honestly, the average consumer doesn't care about this debate at all. They care about two things: saving money and convenience. If a game is cheaper on PlayStation or Steam, they're going to buy it there. If it's easier to just download digitally, they're going to do that. The hardcore collector crowd might pay the premium, but how big is that audience really? And here's the other irony. People lost their minds when some Nintendo games crept up to $70 or $80. Oh, it's corporate greed. It's anti-consumer. But now, when it's a third party bumping the price $10 on Switch specifically, people are like, yeah, but it's worth it for the cartridge. Is it though? Or are we just moving the goalposts depending on the situation? Look, I don't love game keycards either. They're not perfect, and yes, they rely on infrastructure that won't last forever. But at the end of the day, third-party publishers on Switch 2 don't have great options. Either they go digital only, they eat massive costs, or they use keycards. Nintendo has boxed them in, so what happens now? Well, we're about to find out. Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection and Yooka Replay are test cases. If you're one of the people who's been campaigning for no game keycards, now's the time to back it up with your wallet. Pay that extra $10. Prove there's a market for it. Because if sales flop, if the Switch versions underperform compared to PlayStation and Xbox, you better believe publishers are going to look at that and go, see? Not worth it. Back to keycards, back to digital. So let me throw it back to you guys. Would you actually pay $10 more just to have a true physical Switch 2 cartridge? Or would you save the money and buy it on another platform? Because the way I see it, this is about to separate the physical media diehards from the average gamer who just wants the best deal. And honestly, I don't know which way it's going to go. But that's my rant for today. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Are game keycards really the enemy here? Or is this just Nintendo being Nintendo and leaving third parties stuck with no good solutions? And hey, if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell so you don't miss future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.